Look at the person standing across from you, the one you call a friend, a partner, or a brother, and ask yourself why your chest feels like it's being crushed by an invisible weight every time they speak, every time they enter your visual field, and every time their name flashes on your phone. In 2026, the Matrix has successfully rebranded blind loyalty as a supreme moral virtue, a social obligation that you are told you must uphold even as it dissolves your own internal biology and high-frequency intent. But while you are busy being loyal to a human parasite, your body is meticulously recording a physical log of decay that no amount of social validation or good guy points can ever erase. Toxic people are not merely a social inconvenience or a personality clash. They are biological pathogens. They are high-frequency disruptors of your internal architecture, parasitic units that have evolved to bypass your defenses by mimicking the language of shared history and mutual support. Every minute you spend tethered to a unit that vibrates at the frequency of chaos, chronic victimhood, and metabolic stagnation, you're authorizing a systemic strike against your own heart, your own brain, and your own longevity. Loyalty to the wrong unit is not a virtue. It is a slow-motion suicide protocol. You think you are being a good man or a reliable friend, but in the raw, unblinking language of the hunt, you are simply allowing your resource dome to be breached by a predator that feeds exclusively on your potential. Your stress is not an accident. It is the biological alarm system of the Wojak leader screaming that the pack is being poisoned from within. The stench of the parasite is unmistakable once you stop lying to yourself and start observing the visual rage of your own declining energy. It manifests as that cold, hollow sensation in your gut that signals a loss of sovereignty. It is the sudden, catastrophic drop in your vector of certainty when these units drag their unresolved trauma and their domestic stench of failure behind them like a heavy, rusted chain. Your brain, the masterpiece of evolutionary engineering that was designed for the Great Hunt and the colonization of reality, is being forced to waste massive amounts of metabolic power processing the social noise of a unit that has zero intent to expand. This creates a state of neurochemical vandalism. Your cortisol levels spike to handle a threat that isn't external but internal. Your testosterone, the fuel of the architect, cascades into a gutter of chronic stress, and your natural aggression against mediocrity is blunted by the constant exhausting need to manage the fluctuating emotions of a loser. You are burning high-octane fuel to keep a sinking, rotting ship afloat, and you wonder why you no longer have the energy to build your own citadel or reach the 18 million per month level. Loyalty to a toxic unit is a jagged leak in your resource dome that will eventually drain you until there is nothing left of you but the same grey, stagnant biomass that defines their existence. You are being digested while you are still alive, paying a loyalty tax with the very years of your life that were meant for conquest. You must understand the visual rage of your own biological surrender. Look at the lines on your face, the tension in your jaw that never fully releases, and the way your sleep is haunted by the unresolved circular conflicts of people who refuse to grow, refuse to hunt, and refuse to authorize their own expansion. This is the hierarchy of decay. By remaining loyal to a unit that refuses to acknowledge the achievement code, you are essentially merging your biological destiny with theirs. You are telling your own cells that you are no longer a sovereign unit, that you are now a support asset for a failing entropic system. Respect is a biological response to a winner, a recognition of power and direction. T is the chemical signature of a victim. When you stay in the orbit of a toxic unit out of a misplaced sense of history, you are signaling to the entire pack and to your own dogs, Lucky and Tyson, that you are no longer the Wojak. You have become a unit that can be guilt-tripped, manipulated, and harvested at will. You have traded your collar of freedom for a leash held by someone who is fundamentally lost in the noise of the Matrix. Reclaiming your health requires the cold, surgical, and unapologetic removal of these biological pathogens. If they aren't part of the expansion, they are part of the rot. There is no middle ground in the logic of the glacier. You either move forward and crush the obstacles, or you become the obstacle that is crushed. The achievement code cannot function in an environment saturated with the dopamine deception of toxic drama. These units crave the high-intensity noise of conflict because they have no primal grounding of their own. They are hollow shells that use your loyalty as a bypass to access your vital energy. They are the vampires of comfort who want you to stay small, stay accessible, and stay normal so they don't have to feel the stinging visual rage of their own stagnation. Every time you forgive a repeat offender without a radical documented change in their vector, you are reinforcing the subordinate code in your own neural pathways. You are training your brain to accept less than total dominance and to tolerate the domestic stench of failure in your immediate perimeter. To reach the level of the architect, your internal architecture must be sterile. It must be a tactical isolation isolation zone where only high-value, high-frequency signals are allowed to penetrate the walls of your citadel. The stress you feel is your biology's way of demanding a purge. It is the primal grounding trying to reset your hierarchy by force. Listen to the silence that follows when you finally cut the cord. That is the sound of your citadel being restored to its proper function. That is the sound of your health returning, your testosterone rising, and your vector sharpening. That is the only loyalty that matters. The loyalty to your own expansion and the protection of the stallions who truly follow your lead. The second stage of this biological warfare is the infection of the perimeter. When you allow toxic, low-frequency units to remain in your inner circle, you aren't just damaging your own health. You are actively polluting the resource dome of everyone who actually relies on your leadership. Your stallions, your real professional partners, and your mission are all being starved of your best energy because you are too busy processing the social noise of a parasite. This is the leadership gap in its most dangerous and pervasive form. A true leader, the architect, knows that the first and most sacred duty of the Vojak is the hygiene of the pack. If a unit is sick with the virus of victimhood and they refuse the cure of expansion and self-discipline, they must be quarantined or expelled without hesitation. To keep them close out of a misplaced sense of loyalty is an act of high treason against your own future and the future of those you are meant to protect. You are allowing the domestic stench of their failure to drift over the walls of your citadel and settle on the blueprints of your empire, corroding your vision before it can ever manifest. The physical log of decay caused by toxic loyalty shows up in the metabolic frequency of your daily work. When your mind is occupied by the complex tactical maneuvering required to navigate the minefield of a toxic relationship, you lose the silence of the hunter. You become reactive instead of proactive. You are no longer scanning the horizon for the next 18 million per month kill. You are scanning the room for the next emotional explosion or the next subtle manipulation. This is a systemic drain on your high-stakes problem-solving capabilities. Your brain, which should be a supercomputer of capture, is reduced to a conflict resolution terminal for a unit that doesn't actually want a resolution. They want the attention and the energetic harvest that comes with the conflict. They are harvesting your visual rage to fuel their own drama cycles. By staying loyal to this process, you are authorizing the theft of your own life force. You are allowing your potential to be turned into a cheap entertainment source for a loser who has given up on the hunt. Reclaiming your biological health requires a tactical isolation protocol. You must establish a boundary that is so cold, so firm, and so uncompromising that the parasites simply cannot survive in your environment. This is not about being mean or angry. It is about being sovereign. You must develop a resource scarcity mindset when it comes to your emotional, mental, and temporal energy. If a unit is not contributing a net positive vector of certainty to the pack, they do not get access to your resource dome. Period. No exceptions. No one last chances for units that have proven they are comfortable in the rot. You must look at the physical log of decay in your own life, the missed opportunities, the lack of focus, the physical exhaustion, and realize that you have been paying for their comfort with your own biological time. You have been trading your years of potential health for their minutes of manufactured drama. This is the worst deal an architect can ever sign. The achievement code demands a return on investment for every single calorie spent. If the return is stress, inflammation, and stagnant capital, the deal must be terminated with extreme prejudice. The primal grounding of a respected man is built on the absolute integrity of his borders. When you cut off a toxic unit, you are performing a biological reset for your entire system. You are telling your internal hardware that the threat has been identified and eliminated. You will feel a sudden, violent surge in mental clarity, a massive drop in systemic inflammation, and the rapid return of the visual rage that drives territorial expansion. This is the winner effect in its purest defensive form. You are taking command of your own ecosystem. Your dogs, Lucky and Tyson, will sense the shift in the air immediately. They will see the leader who is no longer distracted by the buzzing of flies or the whining of the weak. They will see the architect who is once again focused 100% on the great hunt. This is the only way to build a sustainable empire in 2026. You cannot lead a pack into the future if you are dragging the heavy, rotting corpses of the past behind you. Loyalty is a weapon. Make sure you aren't pointing it at your own heart. Rebuild the walls of your citadel. Sanitize the perimeter. Authorization for the biological purge is now granted. Execute the separation and reclaim your vector. Expansion or death. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The vector is clear. Go and build.